when the first Europeans arrived, getting to the end of the 15th century. They found so much gold. That is why it was named the Gold Coast. It was also the time of the discoveries, the great explorations. So as the Gold Coast was discovered, then you got to the Americas were also discovered. They wanted to have plantations, grow cotton, grow tobacco, grow sugar cane, and they discovered that the Africans they came to meet were very strong. So the Gold Coast became more or less like a slave coast.
Ancient forts recall the latter centuries, an era of traders from Europe, a time of gold and slavery, a time of darkness.
Antwi-Nsiah Castle was built in 1482 by the Portuguese to protect what they had discovered. It was the first fortification that was built for the trade. So along the coast were dotted quite a number of these fortifications where slaves were kept and shipped off to the Americas.
Founded by the Portuguese in the 15th century, Cape Coast changed hands between many colonizers. Now Cape Coast is a fishing town erected around a former slave trade castle built by the Dutch in 1650. The castle was captured by the British a few years later, and they made Cape Coast the capital of the Gold Coast for more than 200 years.
I was very overwhelmed with emotion, I guess, when I went to Cape Coast. It was something I knew we were going to and I knew we were going to see, but I didn't expect it to have that big of an impact on me.
So we are going to enter. It was a condemned cell. But today, I'll condemn you, but nobody will die.
It's hard to even put that into words, just knowing that the countless amount of slaves that walked through there, knowing that they would never be back in their homeland. It was very sad.
There was tons of things you never really thought about or knew that existed until you actually went to the slave castle and got to see how big of a deal it was to go from the governor's mansion at the very top of the hierarchy, down to just where slaves were just constantly being flushed through.
It was almost a humbling experience, knowing the history of that and how the United States impacted this horrible history.
About 200 men were kept here. We walked through the tunnel, then into the sea. They did not see sunlight.
When you walked through the door of no return, it was like a blinding flash of immense power. I don't know. When you walked through, there was just life everywhere.
It opens up to the fishing town and how everybody comes up to you and they're wanting to meet you and sell you things. And then what really was inspiring to me was they named the backside of it the Door of Return, and they were welcoming back the descendants of people in the slave trade. And I think that was really moving to see that.
One second past midnight, March the 6th, 1957. The moment has come. Here in West Africa, a nation is born. Ghana is free.
Ghana was the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to gain independence, and it was great news for Ghana and the rest of Africa. Fortunately, we had a leader, Kwame Nkrumah, who had experienced a bit of racism in the Americas, who had lived in Britain before, and so who was quite passionate about the rights of Ghanaians to take care of themselves. He said, we prefer independence with danger than servitude in tranquility.
Gold Coast, to be called Ghana from March 1957, was a post-colonial enigma in sub-Saharan Africa. Its charismatic leader, Kwame Nkrumah, largely created this aura. Highly critical of colonial governance, this well-known Pan-Africanist presented through his personality and activities a political trinity, prophetic to some, controversial to others, and dictatorial in the eyes of some analysts of the African situation. Ghana and Africa, he believed, were one.
He endeavored continually to bring us freedom and liberty.
He could have been right in a sense, but he had debatable ideas which defined how the contours of the economy of this newly independent country would be shaped and the nation fared. Good news for Ghana's 21st century economy has been its discovery of oil and how an emergent oil economy could address its challenges and promise. Every economy hedges on structures and institutions, civil service, diplomatic missions, the secretariat of presidency, and the extent to which these institutions enhance national progress. The post-colonial economy of Ghana from 1957 had to do likewise, how to build from the departing British colonial type which served a different purpose.
The whole rationale of colonialism was that the African was incapable of governing himself, and therefore that you needed an authority to direct the life of the African. And so the colonial administration was one that was staffed, certainly at the top level, exclusively by British citizens. And their duty and focus, essentially, was to ensure stability and total respect of the administration under which we came, and also to make sure that they administer the colonies for the benefit of the colonial power. That was what it was.
Indeed, it would have been strange if after Kwame Nkrumah's agitation for independence, the same structures had been maintained.
Of course.
But the structures and personnel which the departing colonial services had left behind were neither willing to go along with the new realities, nor were they prepared to work under Nkrumah's Africanization of the civil service. The new government would go ahead to formulate economic policies with the newly promoting Ghanaians from the old colonial structures. Employment came with the expansion of the state enterprises, which by 1966 were 53, with 12 public boards. There was an increase in the number of public paid employees from about 98,000 to 250,000. We also saw an investment in the economy from about 19 to 25%. Not only that, but there was also a massive infrastructure development program. The construction of the Akosombo Dam, the Tema Harbour and the entire Tema Township, including the motorway.
And during this period, we had a rapid growth in certain key social areas: primary schools, middle schools, teacher training colleges, universities. Unbelievable growth. These were all areas that had experienced some growth, but very limited growth, very timid growth because of obvious colonial policies. But he said, no, we're going to change this. You look at the orientation of these plans, they're actually almost identical to what South Korea, right around the same time, also adopted, which was one to produce consumer goods using imported machinery. And so what they did was to do surveys and find out what Ghanaians used most. So they found, for instance, that we use a lot of matches because we have to light charcoal and so forth and so on. And we're buying a lot of matches and importing them. So then he went ahead and set up the Kede match factory. And then they realized, well, we also need sugar for our cocoa and the rest of it. So the Commander Sugar Factory and other things. We have to wear shoes in the Kumasi Shoe Factory. So it was this rapid integrated approach to development, calling for massive investments, which he made.
70% of revenues flowing from the sector have been committed to infrastructure and physical expenditure.
The ports handle 75 to 80% of the total national traffic and supports a large number of sectors, like the minerals, we have bauxite, manganese, then we have agricultural products, cocoa, pineapple, banana, mango exports, also the manufacturing industry, large volumes of imports and exports. We plan to expand the ports to meet the growing national economic needs.
The port of Takoradi is the connecting hub
between activities on land and our oil rigs offshore.
The biggest project, a landmark of the future, proposes a great dam and hydroelectric power station.
President Kwame Nkrumah's vision was to electrify Ghana, and we are doing it. Lake Volta is the largest man-made lake in the world. We export electricity to Togo, Benin, La Côte d'Ivoire, and then very soon Burkina Faso. Currently, the energy generation is about 2,000 megawatts. We believe that we can go up to about 5,000 megawatts by 2015, 2020. Volta River Authority has a mix of expertise now. It started with hydro, we moved into thermal. Very soon, we are going to go into solar and wind.
I would recommend anyone to go to Ghana because it opens your eyes to a different world that we're not used to. That was the biggest thing.
What you find there, you don't learn about the culture and their history. You learn about yourself as well, and you learn about, I guess, how to handle yourself better in any kind of situation. Like for me, it helps me to become more patient and to become less occupied with time and more focused on finding enjoyment in the smaller things.
The people there are the most friendly people you'll ever meet on Earth. I don't think there was one encounter where we had a conflict or an issue or a rude person speak to us.
Even if that's not your prerogative for going, you should at least go just to see and meet the people. I mean, the people are absolutely incredible. They're nice, they're nice and they're friendly and they're always willing to help you despite what they've been through.
You also realize how fortunate, living in the U.S. and being born in the U.S. you are.
If nothing more, for an educational experience, to go over there and experience what it's like to live in Ghana. It's not everything that you see on TV.
Will stay with you and change you.
Long after we've returned to the U.S., we will remember the people and culture, the struggles and triumphs of this vibrant country. And one day, if we return, we can be sure we will hear the familiar Akwaba welcoming us back, because we have gone all the way out and we have returned.